In-laws laughed as they gave her $1 cabin as inheritance, unaware of its actual hidden value. When her late husband's family gifted her a shack worth $1, laughing as they handed over the deed. Olivia Moore couldn't imagine that beneath those rotting floorboards lay a secret that would change everything. Follow our channel for more dramatic stories that also sweeten your day. Like the comment and share to help us create more heartwarming tales. The rusted hinges screamed as Olivia Moore stepped onto the sagging porch. She held Ivy, 8 months old, against her chest. Thomas, 8, clung to her worn coat. Behind them, fanned out like vultures, stood the Belland clan, her late husband, Jack Belland's family, luxury SUVs gleaming on the dirt pull-off. At her heel circled Scout, their alert Australian shepherd, ears pricked at every sound. Roland Belland, Jack's oldest brother, threw his head back and laughed. Take a look at your palace, the spectacular inheritance for our dear sister-in-law. Connie Belland, Jack's sister, adjusted designer sunglasses and wrinkled her nose at the damp, mouldy smell. An entire $1 of luxury. Maybe you can rent it for 50 cents a night. The laughter broke in a cruel wave, making Ivy wail louder. Olivia pressed her lips together. She would not give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. She'd spent her last savings flying to upstate New York after a county clerk's call. There was a piece of real property left to her. She'd hoped it was a mistake. The mistake, she realized now, was expecting decency from people who had none. "Mom, who owns that castle?" Thomas asked, pointing through the mist. Down in the valley, beyond the low clouds, a massive stone rose, towers, crenellations, ancient walls. Raven's Keep, a Gilded Age estate built to look medieval, stark contrast to the shack. Mark Belland, the youngest, snorted. "That's Raven's Keep estate, some old lines playhouse abandoned for decades. Maybe Mum can wave to it from her palace here." Roland spread his arms, mock magnanimous. "We hooked up power and water. Welcome gift. This shack's been here since our grandfather. Nobody ever wanted it. There are encumbrances on the land, whatever. Papers are closed. It's yours. Enjoy your kingdom, Your Majesty." They climbed into their cars and disappeared down the gravel road toward the Hudson. Olivia stood alone with her kids and Scout. Reality crashed in. New town, little cash, no plan. She pushed the door. Solid old oak, stronger than it looked, but it groaned on hinges, ungreased for a lifetime. Inside, slanted light sliced through broken panes, turning dancing dust to gold. The main room was larger than expected, anchored by a massive blue stone fireplace. Too elegant for a place this humble. "Looks like a pioneer house from the history book." "Only older," Thomas murmured, running his fingers over the floorboards. Olivia found a broom and began clearing cobwebs like lace. Thomas hauled scraps outside. They carved out enough space for their sleeping bags. "There's a hand pump out back, Mom. It works," Thomas shouted. Small mercies, Olivia thought. At least they wouldn't be thirsty. As evening fell, she gathered dry wood from a lean-to and lit a fire. Spring cold in the hills could cut to the bone. "Mom, why are these stones different?" Thomas traced the foundation blocks, incised with odd symbols, like the medieval marginalia Olivia had studied in college. "I don't know. Maybe this cabin was built over something much older," she said. They split meager rations, baby food, crackers, 2 bottles of water, 1 pack of diapers. Tomorrow they'd find the nearest town. Beacon. Or Kingston, maybe. "It's going to be okay, Tommy. This is just temporary," she said, and Jack's name stabbed her heart. "Dad used to say you're the strongest person he ever met," Thomas whispered. Olivia's eyes stung. While tucking Ivy in, she noticed it. Several boards in the center of the floor didn't match, newer, as if covering something. By firelight, the difference was subtle but clear. From below came a sound, not settling wood, but faraway footsteps on stone. "What was that, Mom?" "I don't know, but we're going to find out," she said, and Scout's hackles lifted, nose cutting the air. At dawn, with a rusted pry bar from the shed and Thomas standing guard with the flashlight, Olivia wedged the lever between two boards. The wood keened, then gave. Beneath, pure darkness, the worn lip of an eye-stone step. They lifted more boards. A stairway carved into bedrock appeared. Olivia tightened Ivy's wrap against her chest. "Stay right behind me. If I say up, you go up," she said. Step by step. 17, Thomas counted. They slipped into a vaulted chamber hewn from living rock. The air was strangely cool. On the walls hung faded textiles repeating a device, a black raven clutching a golden crown. Above a collapsed bricked-over doorway hung a shield with the same emblem. "Ravens, like Ravens Keep," Thomas whispered. At the center sat a dark wood coffer, bound with tarnished silver, surprisingly less dusty than the rest. Olivia lifted the lid. The hinges were still well-oiled. Inside, wrapped in waxed leather, lay deeds, maps, family trees. The first document bore seals Olivia recognized from her studies, a 1779 New York land grant. Revolutionary-era signatures. Below it, 1869 trust papers, and a chain of title for Sacher Ravenskeep estate and surrounding acreage. At the bottom, a modern envelope. "For my beloved Olivia." Jack's handwriting. Olivia's hands trembled. "My love." If you're reading this, it means they gave you what they thought was worthless. The truth is under your feet. Our children's inheritance waits across the valley. Roland and Connie know nothing of the real line. My grandfather hid it to protect it from their greed. Now it's your turn to claim what belongs to our kids. Don't trust my family. Yours always, Jack. Olivia pressed the letter to her heart, then looked at the documents as if they were alive. "Tommy, I think Dad is telling us something huge about that estate," she said. At first light the next day, with the papers in her pack, Ivy snug against her, Thomas's hand in hers, and Scout trotting at her side, Olivia took the forest path the old map sketched. Less than 2 miles later, the trees opened to a paved drive, and the sight stole her breath. Ravenskeep was not abandoned at all. Manicured gardens, tour buses, signs reading "Na Cafe," ticketing, and a plaque, Ravenskeep Estate, operated by the Hudson Heritage Trust. Private property under contested title since 1943, daily tours. Contested title. Exactly like the papers, a woman in her 50s with a badge approached. Dr. Eleanor Chase, director. "Can I help you? 3 for the tour." "Actually," Olivia hesitated, "I'm here about the ownership." "That's complicated. Our counsel in Albany handles it. If you're a reporter." "No, I'm Olivia Moore, Jack Belland's widow. I believe our children are the rightful heirs to Ravenskeep." At the name Belland, Dr. Chase's brow knotted. "Do you have documents?" When she saw the seals and deeds, her professional composure wavered. She ushered them into her office at once. With a jeweler's loupe, she examined wax, watermarks, inks. "They're authentic, late 18th century. And these trust papers too. Ms. Moore, do you understand what this means?" The floor seemed to shift under Olivia's feet. "I have an idea, but I need your help." Dr. Chase exhaled. "This estate generates several million a year and is held by the Yule Hudson Heritage Trust. Until a court determines the rightful owner, revenues are escrowed. If the genealogy holds, they belong to your children." Olivia's phone buzzed. Unknown number. "I saw you at the estate. Big mistake. Some things should stay buried. We'll be taking the kids, for their own good." Olivia's blood turned to ice. Dr. Chase paled. "We're calling our attorney in the sheriff's office. now. Within hours, word spread. Local news vans gathered at the gate. Headlines: Widow uncovers hidden airship in Hudson Valley, from a $1 shack to a $100 million estate. Dr. Chase insisted Olivia and the children sleep in the private apartments for safety. "It's more secure here," she said. On the third day, as expected, the Harmbelans descended on the valley. Roland helicoptered onto the old tournament lawn. Connie and Markin arrived in SUVs with slick lawyers. Olivia watched from Dr. Chase's window. "Should I meet them?" Eleanor asked. "Better your counsel," Olivia said. "I might say things I'd regret." In the conference room, security cameras caught Roland pounding the table. "Fraud! Those papers are fakes. There's no castle in our line." The trust's attorney, silver hair, razor gaze, slid a folder across. 3 independent forensic reports corroborated by state archives. Authentic. Connie pivoted to Pity, whispering among staff, "We're so worried about Olivia. Grief has unbalanced her." But the docents had already circled around the new lady of the house. Thomas became the tour's little mascot. Guides taught him to read the frieze inscriptions in the portrait gallery. Scout lay at his feet, watchful. That night, a call from the States. The Bellans' longtime attorney. "Ms. Moore, my clients have filed for emergency custody. You're unstable and transported minors out of state without resources." Olivia nearly dropped the receiver. "What?" Dr. Chase found her on the floor with Thomas gripping her hand. "We'll fight," she said. "I've called Professor Edwin Vale, the top genealogy and DNA expert at Columbia. If anyone can close this, it's him." He arrived at dawn, compact, white hair, youthful energy, set up a mobile lab in a modernized wing, and swabbed Thomas and Ivy. "Now the historic samples," he said, heading to the chapel crypt. No coffins were opened. In the 1970s, strands of hair and bone fragments had been preserved from key members of the Ravens and line, including the 12th Count of Ravenskeep, 1897. At 10 sharp, the Bellans returned with their own expert, Dr. Elena Harper, American, tone severe. Roland avoided Olivia's eyes. Mark gave a thin nod, almost an apology. Professor Vale took the floor. "Here we have a 6th-century-style riddle, American edition," he began, projecting trees and deeds. He answered Harper's objections with aging curves for ink, watermarks, bindings, then moved to DNA. On the screen, green segments snapped into alignment. "The probability this match occurs by chance is 1 in 500 million. Thomas and Ivy Moore Belland are the direct heirs, by the principal line, to the original owners of Ravenskeep." Roland shot up. "So what? We're all related. The question is, who has claim?" "Indeed," Vale said mildly. "Comparing your DNA, Mr. Belland, lifted from the glass he used the day before, with the historic sample shows something else. You and your siblings tie to the estate through a collateral female line that entered in 1897. Cadet line, not title-bearing. Thomas and Ivy are the primary line." Silence. Dr. Chase delivered the coup de grace, and our archivists found the decisive detail. The shack you mocked is actually the original 1820 gatehouse and for Ravenskeep, built over a secret vault to protect documents during wartime. By deeding it for $1, you handed over the key to the entire estate. What followed drained the color from the Bellans' faces. A sealed chamber with historic jewelry, illuminated manuscripts, rare vintages. In the cellar, 2 Flemish canvases attributed to the School of Van Dyck, and uncatalogued collections. Total value, tens of millions. Last blow, a court-ordered disclosure showed that in 2015, Roland had commissioned private research on how to avoid the first heir problem in the Belland line. Mark stood shaking. "Enough!" We're not the primary line, Grandpa told me. He wanted Jack to marry a strong woman to strengthen the true line. Roland lunged, but security stepped in. From his jacket fell a notebook, a list of property transfers by elderly Belland relatives to Belland Global Investments. Dr. Chase flipped it open. Did they understand what they were signing? Silence was the only answer. The State Attorney General's Financial Crimes Unit opened cases for fraud and self-dealing. The Sheriff's Office secured the estate. Family Court tossed the custody motion. Children well cared for, a shameful attempt to weaponize the system for financial ends. The threat wasn't over. Security reported unknown men at the perimeter, a car idling for hours on the Ridge Road. Olivia's attorney, Meredith Hartshows, arranged discreet protection. Thomas's school was quietly alerted. Dr. Chase studied the past. Why did Jack's grandfather buy only the gatehouse in 51, splitting it from the estate? He was playing the long game, Olivia realized. He hid the proof far from greed. Jack's 94-year-old Aunt Eleanor Belland in Virginia confirmed in a recorded interview. She had told Jack everything shortly before his death. Then came a shadow. Roland had pressured her, threatening guardianship. Jack died the day after he vowed to confront Roland. Brake failure. The investigation was reopened. The night before the decisive hearing, estate security set a trap. They leaked a rumor about a new vault being catalogued. At midnight, 3 figures moved through the woods toward the old chaplain's passage. They slipped inside. In a stone choke point, hidden doors slammed, lights blasted, a TAC team closed in. Caught in seconds. The Belland's attorney, detained nearby, had explicit orders on his phone. Eliminate the problem. "Miss, it's over," Meredith told Olivia, who collapsed into a chair in the control room, eyes on the monitors. "My children are going to be safe," Olivia whispered, Scout pressing his head to her knee. Court day packed the Tash, New York Supreme Court trial division. The case had gripped the state for weeks. Judge Malcolm Harrington summarized in a steady voice. "In 30 years, I've seen few combinations of calculated greed and contempt for family like this." Sentences fell. Roland, 15 years for fraud and attempted homicide, pending additional counts. Connie, 8 years for financial crimes. Mark, 5 years, reduced for cooperation and remorse. Asset forfeitures, restitution, professional bans. The custody bid against Olivia was labeled frivolous and malicious. On the steps, Olivia faced reporters. "Justice was done today. My husband Jack worked to bring the truth back to light. We'll use this inheritance to serve the community and preserve history." The Hudson Heritage Trust formally recognized Thomas and Ivian as heirs, naming Olivia guardian and administrator. In a simple, moving ceremony, Dr. Chase handed Thomas the estate's historic key. "Mom, do we really live in a castle?" he whispered. "Yes," she said, "and it won't be only ours." Then the real work began. Olivia vowed Raven's Keep would not be an ivory tower. The Great Hall hosted classes for Hudson Valley schools. A portion of ticket revenue funded scholarships for children who had lost a parent, in Jack's honor. The museum was rehung, research labs outfitted. The wine cellars became a center for historic oenology. The gardens welcomed town festivals and charity events. 5 years slid by with the ease of things set right. At 13, Thomas Cato led kids' tours. Did they hide swords here during the Civil War? Wrong continent, this was the American Revolution? He'd grin, making history feel alive. Ivy, 5, dashed through the armory until Alberto, the head custodian, gently chided, "Young lady, slow feet." She'd laugh and race toward the next treasure. Scout padded after them, greying around the eyes, still the same steady shadow. The dollar shack remained, restored. New roof, tight windows, panels explaining how a humble gatehouse saved a secret for centuries. Dr. Chase stayed at Olivia's side like a fierce grandmother, steering stewardship with warmth and steel. Harvest night at Ravenskeep became a fixture on the Hudson calendar. Falconers, folk music, artisans, long tables set with crusty loaves, chowders, roasts. A documentary crew filmed the revival of America's great estates. Olivia spoke from the Great Hall steps, Thomas and Ivy at her sides, in a simple dress, and Jack's grandmother's pearl strand. 5 years ago we were strangers here, she said. Today we are at home because you unwelcomed us. Stone without people is only echo. We are custodians of a story that began before us and will outlast us. Thomas took the mic, voice starting to change. My dad used to say, true nobility isn't a title, it's how you treat people. That's why we're expanding scholarships and launching a program to restore the hills around us. As dusk fell, lanterns traced the towers. Eleanor joined Olivia on the ramparts. Below, townsfolk danced beside scholars from Columbia and Brown, laughter bounding off stone warmed by a century of sun. You've done something extraordinary, Olivia, Eleanor said. If I think what Roland would have done, sell it off, piece by piece. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we'd caved to despair, Olivia said softly, if I'd sold the shack. You didn't, Eleanor smiled. You held on. You searched for the truth. The investigation into Jack's death proved brake tampering. Roland's sentence grew. New treasures surfaced from the archives, a packet of Federalist correspondence, a rare illuminated breviary, notebooks on 1890s stonemasonry techniques. Ravenskeep was no longer a monument to the past, but a laboratory for the future. That night, Olivia tucked Ivy into a little bedroom with a hand-painted star ceiling. Thomas asked for the door half open, as always. Mom, who does this castle belong to? The same question as years before. To everyone who loves it, she said, seeing something of Jack and something of herself in his face. To those who built it, to those who protected it, to the community that lives it. We're just the lucky ones who get to call it home. From the corridor window, the $1 gatehouse shone under the moon, new roof, solid walls. Ravenskeep exhaled under a rinsed sky, no longer relic but beacon. A family once mocked now reigned over its small kingdom, not with arrogance but with care and service. And somewhere, Olivia liked to think, Jack was watching. His last act of love had brought his family home. Scout lay at her feet, tail thumping once as if to say, mission ongoing.